Explore session mode and play around with injecting some extreme contrast into your sessions. Weirdly enough, Lydian shape is exactly the same as Phrygian's. The difference is that the chord tones in Lydian completely change the way we hear the shape. This difference gives Lydian an ethereal sound used in lots of different styles of music. In the next session, play around with a Lydian scale and listen to how dramatically different it sounds from Phrygian. Mixolydian is very close to Ionian, but ends up sounding more upbeat. Mixolydian gets used a lot in funk and jazz, but it also pops up in blues. Each scale in session mode has a specific color and sound. More complex bands are going to mix scales on the fly to create a rich sonic palette. Keeping up with this moving palette is called playing over the changes. In the next session, play over the changes that the band throws at you. Scale changes in music open up a world of possibilities for phrasing. As you start to get more comfortable with changing scales on the fly, start to think about how you want to use this to style your phrasing. Welcome back. Now let's dive into scales with some interesting quirks that create some really unique sounds. The blues scale is the same as the pentatonic minor, with the addition of the blue note. The blue note, also called the devil's note, adds a smooth, soulful edge when used to transition between other notes. Phrygian Dominant is only one note different from Phrygian. Phrygian Dominant has that iconic Spanish guitar sound. Even though it's got classical roots, it's a known favorite of both surf and metal musicians. Harmonic minor is only one note different from Aeolian, but it feels way more dark and epic. As you know by now, scale and chord changes move the chord tones to other spots on the neck. The best way to make your phrasing sound like it's following these changes is to play chord tones. It grounds your phrasing to the changes. In the next session, follow up scale and chord changes with chord tones and listen to how your phrasing sounds like it's riding the musical waves. You are truly beginning to master your craft. You're just missing one piece of the puzzle. Before we get to that last piece, take some time to really polish up your phrasing with chord tones. When you pick a scale in session mode, you can see the root position. The root position is the home base of the scale, but scales also have other positions all up and down the neck. In the next session, try sliding the scale notes up to the next position, play around for a bit, then slide up again. You might notice something interesting. Did you notice that other positions of the scale look pretty familiar? They should. You've played them all. The scale shapes you've been playing are always connected to each other all the way up and down the neck. More and more, you should think about scales as a road map that covers the whole fretboard. The more you see how scales are connected, the more options you have. Congratulations, you've come a long way, but this is just your beginning. Now it's time to take what you've learned from your band and bring it into the real world. You won't be able to boss around real people like you can your session mode musicians, but just remember what you learned here, and you'll do just fine. And make sure to keep exploring all the scales in session mode. Shift positions, zoom in and out, and start to see how they all connect to each other. You never know what will come in handy.